my family sister, learn more about my family sister on top of
Right.
study in Germany as well. So as I go, I was figuring out both sides. And that's
Right.
what really kind of drew me to the German wine culture, was the tribute back.
Right. Yeah, that was kind of going to be one of my next questions was, take us a little bit through that cultural connection and that heritage connection, because I think that's so interesting. One, because, you don't really find a lot of people where Riesling is their number one wine choice. Um, and then two, to find a Black person that is so well versed in Riesling and has a passion for it, I think that is something that's you don't run into every day as well. So kind of walk us through like that cultural connection so we understand a little bit of the background.
Yeah, absolutely. So my grandmother's name that I was telling you about, the deceased, her name is Ingrid. She was born in Prenzlauer, Germany. She got married to a military man, as in my grandpa, but had my mom overseas, and then eventually uh she had my mom and my two uncles. My uncle was born in Bad Kreuznach, which is another side of Germany, but they came to the US eventually. Um, but I would say after that point, how I kind of tied in the connection, especially with Riesling, working in wine retail and just, trying to find what my palate likes. I was just drinking anything from Publix at the time, but
Mhm.
I got my hand on this wine called Liebfrauen. It's just like a blend of usually like Riesling, Müller, Thurgau, or like two other different varieties that are allowed in it. Um, and it was like $7-8. And I was just a college kid, so $10 wines were smacking at the time. And I could go buy 6 bottles of it, but it was hitting. And once I kind of found out, I was just like, I'm gonna drink what I like. Why not keep going with it? And then as time like kept going in that, I really started to get into the powerful side of German wines, like the Grand Cru ones and the Urstlagers and whatnot. And that's
Right.
what really took me overboard. And I was like, all right, this is my lane. But how that kind of ties back into it, because Riesling, it's honestly not a lot of people's first choice.
Mhm.
I didn't mind being standalone. I like being different. It doesn't bother me. I'd rather have my own lane and hog it.
Mhm.
So me being in that realm, I don't mind just keeping my head down, and eventually either you like it or you don't. I'm still happy at the end of the day, whether I got people rocking with me or not. And at the end of, happiness internally is better than anything.
Right. Right. So what were some of the characteristics about Riesling and the Riesling grape varietal that um, attracted both your palate and just from a sensory and food pairing perspective? What were some of the characteristics that you know stood out to you?
For me, I like a lot of high acid, like the wines that really make you like almost hurt your teeth. It's a wake up to me. And then in the beginning, all I was drinking was sweet shit. So I was like, okay, this shit hit. I'm gonna drink this instead of Moscato. And then when
Hmm.
you really tap into it, it's in so many different styles to where it's not just all sweet, and you really can drink Riesling for multiple days on different flavors and different styles from all over. Germany, I just like better because I feel like it really had, I mean, a lot of reasons have that acid backbone, but also like for me, those cabinet styles are lean instead of like, some in Alsace that are a little more typically round.
Hmm.
Um, I, Germany was just a powerhouse for me.
Yeah, yeah. So let's talk about the decision that you wanted to move from enthusiast about Riesling to actually wanting your own wine brand. When did that moment occur? And was there something that happened that said, you know what, I should give this a shot?
No, so first off, this was back in like 2018. My cousin actually called out everything I was gonna do in my life before I even knew it, and I didn't believe him. He just everything I've done so far, he literally called out. He was like, "You need to do this. You need to do this." He was a huge entrepreneur, has a lot of different ventures, and I was like, "All right, man." But as when I made the move to come down to Atlanta, I had some things in play, but it wasn't until I went on a press trip to Germany, and when I actually met Rifle in person for the first time, and they were on this itinerary, and I was like, who the hell is this winery? Like, they probably put one of them bullshit wineries on the list just to fill it up,
Mhm.
and then they had some of the best wines probably from that whole list. Um,
Mhm.
and for me, it was like I knew they're not fully imported in the US yet. So there's a need. I had a potential need on like what I could do long term. So it was already a full spin. But
Mhm.
it wasn't until I went out to San Diego about a couple months after that, and I finally connected with Jenna from German Wine Collection. And, we met up in person, we had lunch, and then she brought the idea to me and was like, look, I think you're about to be the face of German wine for the Gen Z because you have the heritage, you do this already, and you already got people pulling for you crazy. If this is something you want to think about, literally let me know. And
Yeah.
then it was when I went out to Germany last May, I think. I called her when I was out there because I had a crazy itinerary set up, like some of the wineries that you can't even really get in contact with. Um,
Mhm.
and she was like, I think you need to do this now. And I was like, all right, so how do I get started? And I'm only 25, so me hearing this shit, I'm like, I'm not calling it bluff, but it's like, do I really want to let someone kind of like give me that opportunity? Like, are you bullshitting me right now? Because this was a goal to hit by 40 for me. And
Yeah. Were you kind of like, I'm not really supposed to be here kind of
nah,
feeling?
I wouldn't say I'm not supposed. I think you're supposed to be wherever you plant your feet at.
Okay.
But it was just like the reality is like, damn, I'm 25 and I really can do some crazy ass shit right now.
Yeah.
And that really started to set in because I was like, I still got 15 years to hit this goal. Now it's done. Okay, now we about to go even more crazy.
Hmm.
But she came to me and was like, you find a grower that wants to support your heritage and wants to do that, I'll bring it over here. And and for now, it's in a small batch. Like it won't be in stores until the third year. But in the back of my mind, I looked at it, I was like, we haven't seen, especially in our culture, Grand Cru black wine yet. Like whether it's from, I mean, we do have some great black owned producers like Andre Mack or like what's the one in Napa, Brown Estate, like. But I had to look at it in areas like, when are we going to get to someone that's doing something from Howell Mountain or Diamond Mountain in Napa, or like what Carmelo's doing with his Chateauneuf du Pape? That's dope. That's Grand Cru too. It's like, where can we have the premium black owned wine that can step at the tables that that you got heights and all the other shit around? And so I was like, no one's ever done it from Germany, but to have a Grand Cru German cabinet, it was like, okay, I got to get this in stores by year 3 because I know if I do that, it could go bigger than far than what I'm thinking right now.
Hmm.
So yeah, it really started to set in at that moment for sure last May.
So in a process like that, when a brand comes to you and wants to do a collaboration, how much control do you have on the vision and the process?
You for on something like that. Oh, so can I actually tell how that even? Let me tell you how that happened first, and I'll tie that back. So I was actually talking to 2 wineries at this point. One I met out there, this one I met out there last May. He actually came to my Airbnb, but I was talking to Jenna and she was like, I think you need to do Rifle because you and the few others have been telling me about picking them up in our portfolio, which, it suits that like biodynamic, certified organic and vegan catalog. And so I was on the highway one day and I literally pulled over into like a little parking lot and I FaceTime Carolyn. I was like, what are your thoughts on this? And without no hesitation, she just said, when can we start?
Oh, wow.
And so she sent me over what she would quote me at. And I was like, all right, I'll send you half payment right now. Like it was literally that quick.
Hmm.
But for her, it was something like, I think she saw something early because we were pushing it when we did visit her, but it was like, I know this could definitely be beneficial because also it's like, hey, I'm getting them exposure in the US. You got someone that actually has a German background that can push it, that also has, uh culture too. So
Hmm.
it's nothing but a win for them.
Yeah.
And when you got a 3-way triangle like that, it's like it works best for everybody.
Yeah.
But it's someone really wanting to like take the chance and do it. Like, granted, if it was some other major German winery, they probably would have been like, fuck no. But since there was a need and I had an idea, and the great thing is they gave me 2 options, but the site it was coming from, which is Kiersberg, they haven't produced a cabinet out of that site ever. So it was like, hey, I can pave this lane for y'all, help y'all blow this up over here, and let me buy out the Kiersberg from y'all because they only own 0.3 of a hectare of that vineyard out of the total. I think it's like 18 hectares or 14. I think it's 14. So very, very small. So I want to get to a point to where when I can get enough in distribution, which is I got to buy at least 2 pallets. That what she can produce out that region is like 4.9 pallets worth, so I want to be able to eventually buy up majority of it.
Yeah.
And she wins because she, it's not sitting in the cellar. It's already paid for. It's a win either way.
Yeah. So when you're working with Eric and Caroline, the winemakers, what's that collaborative process like?
We were literally FaceTiming, I'd say at least twice a week in the beginning. Like, honestly, now, I mean, we still text here and there. Like, she'll be like, "Oh, I hope you have a good weekend." Like, it's just back and forth. You find someone that really is about you, it's really smooth.
Yeah.
Like the half the battle is, well, my side. I wouldn't say the U.S. side. My side is like, okay, you got an importer that believes in you. Cool. You got a winery that believes in you. Let's see if this importer's about it. Because I knew I couldn't do everything you can't do everything by yourself. I had to realize that. I like to do a lot by myself and stay out the mix. But whenever you're trying to do something bigger, it takes people. Like we all need each other, at the end of the day. And when I realized that, I was like, all right, if someone's giving me this opportunity, I really got to lock in on this shit now, because that's why it was so of a goal to hit by 40, because of all the legalities and whatnot. Now, granted, if I did something in the US or did something in the Finger Lakes, I could have been made it happen.
Yeah.
But I knew for me, it wasn't about just doing a Riesling in the Finger Lakes or doing a Riesling in Cali. Like, I was like, if I'm going to step, I want it to be like the best shit out. And if it has to come from overseas, I'll stand behind it no longer the wait, no matter the wait. So for me, it's just like staying true to what I wanted to do. And no matter how long it took, just wait it out until the opportunity comes. But you do got to put the connections and put in the work is probably the biggest thing you can value with whenever you're trying to make something happen.
Mm-hmm. So can you tell us a little bit about the first vintage?
Yeah. So as far as the first vintage, it was actually kind of, hell. I'd say early September, they were getting little rain. And they definitely needed some to get the ripeness up. You don't want it right before harvest, but like a couple of weeks before, and you get some sun and to rise the sugar levels and balance out the acidity. And then luckily, I think it was like 2 weeks before where we got the perfect amount of rain, and it got picked at like a 78 OSHA scale on the OSHA scale, but it literally was like down to like the last minute with this vintage. It wasn't going to be bad, but it was like, we really need the rain right now. And luckily it just randomly happened. It couldn't have happened any better. I'm trying to tell you, it was one shaky one, but it's Mother Nature. You can't control it. You just can only go with the punches, and it just worked out for the best. The acidity is where it needs to be. The acids the sugar levels is where it needs to be as well. And it's really balanced. I haven't had it yet, sadly. I tried to get a case sent over to try before y'all could. And it got confiscated in customs because some legalities changed. So I won't have it until you guys have it. So anything about how the wine tastes or all that, I cannot answer that for you. I'd rather not lie. But from what other critics have said and some that are rating now, it is actually like a banger. So I'm kind of stoked.
Well, it's really exciting. So, like you said, you're 25 years old. You've hit this major milestone, which is a great accomplishment. But I'm sure along the way, there have been some challenges or maybe some things that maybe you would have made different decisions about. Can you tell us a little background on some of those things, just for information purposes for people who might be thinking about having their own brand one day?
No, for sure. I mean, as y'all may know, with any business, the biggest thing is like, I wish I would have done this earlier. Get your paperwork done. LLC, business line of credit, do all that. That way you can go ahead and start letting you getting credit history. So eventually, if you ever need to take out a loan or whatever, you already got all your paperwork. If you need to get into any legal battles, it definitely goes a long way. I'd say the challenges I faced really early on was, one, the finances, for sure, because I wasn't making great money 30 years ago. I mean, I'm better now, but before it was like, I got rent, I got light. I can't dish out a couple of $1,000s now. That's crazy. But I'd say the biggest one is usually when things are not working and you expect it to work, you will basically like, if I know I'm willing to put in the dog work and work a shitload of hours and grind hard and exhaust myself on top of my normal job, you're expecting something to happen. And
Mhm.
you get to a point where you want to throw that shit away a lot. And then there's multiple times where I've wanted to toss this away and be like, this, like, F this, I'm
Mhm.
done with it. But it's the fact, it's that thought of like, well, if I throw this away, I just wasted 2 years. What the
Mhm.
fuck I'm gonna do now? So the way I kind of overcame that, I would step away for like 3 days, take a breather, and just realize I'm overworking myself.
Yeah.
But also this the reality is things don't happen overnight. Things may not happen in a year, 2 years, 3 years. It took me I'd say 4.5 years total.
Mhm.
And it's exhausting. It really is exhausting trying to make some shit happen for yourself. But it's that you gotta, which I learned now, just any light or like little step that you take, those little ones, treat those as big ones.
Mhm.
Treat them as big ones, because I was the type of person, I looked at a little one, I was like, fuck that, that ain't enough.
Mhm.
That ain't enough for me. I can't even sleep on that, you
Mhm.
know? And that's something I'm learning now to this day. Even though people were like, oh my God, Macy, you're doing great. This is amazing. I'm like, I still look at this as little because I'm thinking like far down the road of like what I'm really trying to do. But you just got to take it day by day.
Yeah. I think that that goes back to, when people say respect the process, like you have to find joy kind of in the journey and not just be focused so much on the execution and the output at the end of what the goal of what you want, but you have to find ways of finding joy in those little wins, the journey, the process, and all of that. I think it kind of makes things a little bit more sweeter, at the end. um
I'll say one thing, definitely like, don't mind investing in yourself. You're going to lose money. You are going to lose a lot of money. It's okay. That's part of the game. You can
right.
control it, but if you're willing to bet on yourself, man, that's priceless. And
Yeah.
so that's how I looked at it. Like any wine out, $200 on the case, $300 on the case. I was like, it's going towards my knowledge. I'll write it off as that in my own head. But
Mhm.
it's just, if you got full control, because no one wants to, I mean, at the end of the day, no one wants to work for somebody else. Some people may not. I know I don't. But if you know you can control your destiny, you put as much work into it as you want to, but the outcome gonna show what you're doing. It's as long as you believe in it, you fully putting the work in, that's all you can ask for.
Yeah. So I want to pivot a little bit and just kind of talk about the industry in general. As a Black man in the industry, what kind of positive changes have you noticed and experienced over the last couple of years that provide a sense of, what, we're moving forward in a good direction?
No, I would definitely say the biggest shift I've seen was definitely when COVID hit and all these organizations and nonprofits started to come around and really try to bring the Black culture more immersed into wine as well. That was huge. And I think by that happening, when you start seeing people that look like you, it makes it a lot easier. Like some of us have had, I mean, you may know, but some of us have had to go in those rooms where I'm the only Black male in here, and that it make you feel that. I mean, I know when I went to SomCon in DC for the first time and I didn't know nobody. I was just turned 21 and there's a few of us, but I was like, it kind of make you feel out of place. So you just kind of stay quiet and, go in your own lane. But nowadays, like it's a more colorful palette.
Mhm.
Uh, and people are providing these resources to where like, if you really want to tap into it, you have that now. You still got to apply yourself, but the resources are available compared to when when it was kind of minimal. Um,
Yeah.
and it took pioneers like, Tahira and others that have like made things blossom. So blessed for that.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Are you finding that um, there are more avenues to resources with things, in particular, mentorship and people who are willing to share the information on, how do I go about this lane, or I'm interested in harvest. Who do I need to contact about getting that experience? Are you seeing the effects of that in the industry?
Oh yeah, it's spins around crazy, man. Especially now, like And, especially with the economy, there's a lot of jobs open. So people are pushing to put people push people into those places as well. And it's really good. I'd say there's never too much opportunity, but there's plentiful opportunities out now to where you can find jobs that you really want and that are like, you will find the resources for like internships or your knowledge, or like the free scholarships sometimes people give out for certifications just to get you in the door. But then you still got to apply yourself. But at least it's like, hey, let me give you a guiding hand now rather than going blinded. Because I know when I was coming up, there was opportunity. I'd say there was opportunity, but it was more so like you got to go find it and then you got to really apply yourself. Because just because I'm around you don't mean like we got to click or you got to provide it, But nowadays it's really like people want to lend a helping hand and like give you opportunities and put you in the right place that you want to be in.
Yeah. Yeah. I know that a lot of us understand that how the educational aspect is very important, but are there any experiences that you had where you felt like it was valuable to your career just as much as what you learned in the classroom?
I would say so. As far as for education, that I'm biased. I have two different opinions, and that's with certifications and everything. One, at the end of the day, you're not gonna know it all. That's just the reality of the game. But I think certifications are good if you're using them for the right reasons.
Mhm.
And some people want to study, and just keep going. That's cool too. I think everybody has their own lane with it. Mine was just biased because I was on the floor. I knew what being a somm was or being a busboy and all that from the bottom to the top up.
Mhm.
And I think that education can help you give a good base knowledge to find out what you like to taste, what you really want to study in. But then from there, it's like, where do you want to take it? I knew I was going to get off the service floor, so I didn't want to be a somm. I don't need to go through the somm route anymore. I can just focus on Germany and study that on my own time.
Mhm.
But it was huge beneficial in my like upcoming because I needed the knowledge. I got the first time I ever interviewed for an assistant somm role, I got sent a packet and it was like, hey, you need to know all this to even be considered to be on my floor. And I
Mhm.
didn't know an answer to any of that shit. But I went back 2 years later to that same lady, and I thought honestly she just didn't like me. And we're still the closest of friends now. But that was the biggest turning point in my wine career, was getting that document and seeing how much I did not know, and was like,
Mhm.
this is what this is about. But then I went back 2 years later and took the same document and did it within 5 minutes,
Mhm.
and told that lady I appreciated her because it was just like, hey, you know, I'm a diversity too. I just don't want you to get on this floor and look blinded or like cloudy, and then make a fool of yourself, because that ain't fun. It's humility in it, but for us, it's like, how can we limit that? It's like coming prepared. So I think the education part is essential, especially when you want to have those conversations with people who are in wine and you could just talk for hours. Those are cool, but then you got to dial it back when you're in different rooms. But that's my opinion.
Yeah. So what now that you are on the verge of completing this goal that in your mind was a by 40 goal, what's next for Mason Washington? Where do you see the Mason Washington brand going in the next 15 years to reach that 40 mark?
Um, I can tell you part of it. I still don't know. Um, I sit on it every day, but I really don't know. I mean, right now, I would like to. So there's a producer called Mary Taylor, which she brings over a lot of wines from Spain up under her name, but she's bringing these producers over under her. So my ideal thing is like, if I could do this with Rifle and get maybe two more wines through them under LELIYG, that would be cold. And so I would like to expand two more. Definitely a dry Riesling and something else. Don't know yet, but to that point, and then go global for sure.
Mhm. So we've got a question in the chat box. When people think of Germany, they automatically think of Riesling. Is there another great varietal that's really good that people sleep on?
I could give you, yes, Cerise, I can give you two. I would say, in my opinion, I think Spätburgunder, which is Pinot Noir, does really well. It competes with some of the high-end Burgundy Grand Crus when you really want to step to like the GG level, but red Pinot Noir in Germany is really iconic. And if you want to go even another red, like I think a sleeper red is Dornfelder. It's very fruit driven, easy drinker, 10, 12, $15 at a Total Wine or a normal grocery store, but they do it really well, especially in like some of the red blends you'll see from Germany. Like it'll be Pinot Noir, Dornfelder, or whatever. But as far as like even a white, I think Sylvaner does really well in Germany. Yeah, it comes over pretty limited to the US, but it does some amazing things.
Mhm. So I always like to ask people, I know that you're not a chef, but everyone has their at-home pairing favorites. What are some of your favorite food pairings with Riesling?
Mm, you're gonna hate me for this. But
No judgment. It's no
no, I
judgment.
hate to sound blunt. I really don't do a lot of food pairings. I like to drink the wine by itself. Um,
Okay.
some people say like, wine with certain foods bring the best experience and all that, which I think that's cool. I'll drink Riesling with some chicken wings or just any meal. It doesn't bother me, to be honest. I'm gonna drink the shit regardless.
Yeah.
But I think I like to drink it by itself to see how it really expresses itself without something else trying to complement it.
Right.
Now, if I'm at a dinner table, I'll have a glass and eat a little bit, but I just like drinking it by itself. Or
Yeah.
any meal particularly. That's just me though.
Yeah. But that's one of the great things about wine is that, you know, I think one of the things that a lot of us are trying to do is really erase a lot of those stupid rules about what you're supposed to do, what you're supposed to drink, how you're supposed to do this. So that's important that your experience can be whatever you want it to be.
I
You know,
I was gonna say that's my only advice is like when you're trying to get in, there's a lot of things like what do you call it? Gadgets that people try to recommend using and all this shit. Dude, drink what the hell you want. Do not listen. Pair that shit whatever you want to pair it with. It does not matter. If you like it, fuck the rest.
Mhm.
Like it's that simple, man. Like, cause I when I was coming, I was listening to like some of this stuff, and as I got older, I was like, why am I listening to you? Like I'm
Mhm.
straight. Like I'm happy over here.
Right,
This is my area.
right,
But that's my 2 cents.
right. So there's got to be other grape varietals that you like outside of Riesling.
Yeah.
What else does Mason drink?
Um. So I will say it's probably 90% Riesling because that's all I have in my house. Um. But if it's red for sure, I mean it's out of my budget. A lot of the times, but I'm a huge Northern Rhone Syrah person. That is
Mhm.
like I don't mind dropping like 80, 90 on a bottle like when I can.
Mhm.
Now that's for like the premium stuff, of course, but I like drinking a lot of Northern Rhone. I used to be in the Bordeaux super heavy. I just feel like as you get older, like you find out what you primarily like and you're gonna buy that. Like if you like Hennessy, you're probably gonna drink Hennessy a lot. I like Riesling, so I'm probably gonna buy that majority of the time. Then also it's like when you're drinking through the week, no one wants to crack all their fly shit. I mean, I wish I could drink fly shit all the time, but
Right.
it's like ideally that's not in my budget at this point. But I do. I'm a big Syrah and like Syrah red guy for sure.
Mhm.
Not
Do you
champagne that much though.
do you have any plans to do any other varietals in the future with the
Um,
winemaking?
if it as long as it's Germany, yes, I will never do anything outside of Germany. I mean, unless it was like the Finger Lakes with somebody that came from Germany or whatever. But I am trying to be the person who hogs that
Mhm.
side. But yeah, I definitely it would be cool to have a Spätburgunder come over. And maybe a dry Riesling. I'd say those would probably I want to stay like Riesling dominant for my white, like
Mhm.
nothing else. Cause that's all people know me for.
Mhm.
And speaking on like what you were talking about earlier with the whole like building your brand is like once you know exactly what you want to do, you may not have all the answers, but when you walk into a room, people know the Hue Society. Oh yeah, that's there. Or like it's like how are you recognized? Is it through your first name or is it through your brand? And so anywhere I go, I just brought Riesling growing up. Like through those years, that's all I was putting people on anything German. And so now whenever I go anywhere, oh, that's that German Riesling dude. That's da da. So as when you do progress and you get your products or whatever, not even saying just wine, it's just like they see that and they know that's you.
Right. Right. And
That's
that's a
you.
great point because a lot of brand marketing strategists will tell you, you know, brand yourself with your passion in who you are and what you like, because that's going to come across more authentic than
Mhm.
anything else. So
No,
that's actually a great strategy.
that was huge, especially like even when I tattooed the German symbols on my legs, like people look at that and recognize me. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? And not, I mean, I was gonna do that anyways, but literally when you are the walking brand at the end of the day.
Right. Right. Are there any business tips that stick out in your mind that would be great tips to um, share with some of us about, even if it doesn't have to be something that you would change, it could be something that you could say, you know what, I'm really glad that I made this decision because in the long run this decision really helped put me in place to succeed.
I the biggest one I would probably say, which I know it made a huge factor in my turning point, was like just don't be afraid to bet on yourself and risk it all. Like it's okay. You got to take a couple L's to get a dub. Two
Mhm.
losses make a W, depending on the way you turn it. Um, I think that's huge because there's never everything is not going to go your way. You could plan it, you could write it down. I'm a huge planner and shit still doesn't go up my way all the time.
Yeah.
But just knowing like 5, 10 times, but that 11th time may work. It's just that inner drive that you fully believe in it, regardless of what anybody else thinks.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, you're the one that got to sell it. If you don't believe in it, no one else ain't gonna buy it.
Right.
Whatever it is, whatever it is.
Right. Right. Well, I'm going to open up the floor. Does anyone have any questions for Mason? It could be about Riesling, business. Don't be shy.
Yeah, I'll answer anything if you guys want to know anything. And I've been through. I mean, it's definitely been a whirlwind in the past 4 or 5 years.
Have you ever thought of moving it permanently to
No,
Germany?
no, I'm buying a house out here for sure. I'm not
Oh,
leaving.
okay.
No, I moved from North Carolina to get out of a boring town. I definitely want to have like a future family and like a huge
Yeah,
house out here. So that's kind of my goals.
yeah, yeah. What how would you say that mentorship, have you experienced mentorship in the wine industry, and has that helped your career in any way?
Yes, I would say early on I had a mentor called named Max and Paula. They were one that was a master som, one was an advanced som with North Carolina, that really was on my ass 24/7.
Mhm.
But as I brand, I'm still tight with them to this day, but also I didn't want to have a lot of mentors because
Mm.
you got this person saying this, you got 5 people coming in your head. All of that ain't good info.
Yeah,
Like, so take everything with a grain of salt. Learn how to move from it and maneuver the way you got to maneuver. But I mean, it's definitely benefited me for sure having someone that's kind of been through the ranks or have done something similar. But even on the German side, I haven't really seen it done. So it was just, hey, I seen this importer do it. I'm gonna see how she's done it. And then when I started to I still had to do a lot by myself and figured out like even the legalities with labeling with the TTB or importing restrictions and regulations, like seeing those documents. I'm like, I don't know what the fuck is going on. But it's a learning lesson. That's why year 2, everything will be a lot easier.
yeah,
But yeah, I'd say that was definitely huge.
yeah. So what's the rollout process from here on? How long can we expect to see it on the shelves here in the States?
I would say 2025.
2025.
For right now, I'm just sharing it with family and friends.
Mhm.
Just getting the word out about rifle, letting people experience what's about to happen. And it's such in a small batch to where like it's gonna be gone within, I'd say, at least a month,
Yeah,
month and a half. But this is just the process of, let me do this before I fully drop a huge investment in it to, get 2 pallets worth. But then when it's out my hands, it'll be a lot easier. Just right now, it's just stepping stones. You got to take it slow. I'm not in no rush, but 2025, it'll at least be in the Georgia market.
Has this going through this process given you a different perspective on what it means to and how tough it is to be a small entity and grow into a large brand?
Yeah, it is. It's not easy, especially if you're trying to do something major. I mean, everybody, wants to do something great and something big, but it's definitely not easy. It's easy as you make it. The more information, the more like you have someone backing you and like also mentoring you and showing you what they did, and then going through those routes. I mean, I skipped a lot of, I don't want to say I skipped a lot of steps, but I was able to get over hurdles super quick.
Yeah.
The biggest thing is for me, it was just communication and time. I like a lot of things on my time. That's just me personally. But when it's out of your control, you control what you can control. But after that, it's like you can't do anymore.
Yeah.
So I would say that's kind of the biggest thing. It's really just being patient, but also controlling what you can control at the end of the day.
Yeah. Is that kind of that mantra? Is that where the creativity came from the LELIYG? Live every day like it's your glass. Is that kind of where that mantra came from?
No. I actually came up with my brand when I was drunk one night. No, I'm so serious. When I was in college, I was with one of my homeboys, and I literally just said, "Live every day like it's your glass." I meant last, and just changed last to glass.
Uh-huh.
Oh, this is creative. And then I spelled the acronym out, and I was like, "Oh, this looks dumb," but it's eye catching.
Right.
And I was like, it sounds weird. It catches your attention because it doesn't look correct.
Hmm.
And I was like, okay, this will work. And then I
Yeah.
sold some shirts, and the shirts sold out, and then the sweatshirt sold out, and it was all Riesling stuff. And I
Yeah.
was like, okay, this is set in stone now for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's great. I mean, I think it's very creative. And
But
if you think about it, you
the
can
whole
understand.
the whole like, I guess you could say, mantra or motto behind it, for me was I lost a lot at an early age. I was telling you about my mom and grandma's situation, but also I almost died when I was 5 from appendicitis. I was in the
Mhm.
hospital for about 2 months, literally on my deathbed. So when I say live every day like it's your glass, it's like for me, like whenever my time is up, I'm not gonna be mad. I
Yeah.
mean, I did everything. Some people don't even get to reach my age at a second chance at life. So it's like I'm gonna live every day till stops ticking. My apologies. But I carry that in anything I do. Or like if I'm upset, I'm like, walk outside, breathe, blow it off. Don't let it ruin your day though.
Right. Right. So we had a question in the chat. Are you bringing back the shirts or sweatshirts?
I am not. Uh, for me, I like to do, if I do something, it's a one-time release and that's it. I don't like
Okay.
to recreate. It's like, if I'll bring it back, I'll bring it back. But for me, it was like, oh, I'm gonna do this. Like even the crew necks, it sold out in one day, which was cool. I
Mhm.
only made like 42 of them. It was just like, let me have something that can also be a walking brand that people can wear. You know. But I like to do one-stop drops, and that's it. Like even with this vintage,
Mhm.
once I'm out, I'm not acting to bring more over. Like the
Mhm.
rest can stay at the winery and they can sell it in Germany.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, last call. Does anyone have any questions for Mason? Any additional questions? Well, Mason, thank you so much. We're so very proud of you. And we love the fact that you are representing this community and this space. And we all think it's just amazing. It's great to see anytime someone steps outside of the box, it has the courage enough to do something that has not been done before. And the Hugh Society, and we're definitely supporting you and can't wait until 2025 to taste your Riesling.
Yeah. I mean, you'll get to try it, Natasha. You're like
Yeah,
down the street from my house.
yeah, down the street.
But but as far as in stores, yeah, it'll expand. just all I ask, just be patient. Like it's a lot more than you think on the back end, which I didn't realize until I got in it, and you really start to see how the 3-tier system works. And it's just so much it's so much BS. Like I wish I was in Cali so you can be fine just going direct to consumer.
Mhm.
So much easier. But our world is trash. I think if it's D2C in California, it should be D2C everywhere, and then we wouldn't even have these problems.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'm just glad that we, sometimes you just, like we said earlier, just have to respect the process. But I'm sure that we're all going to be very, very excited once you have the launch. And just thank you. Thank you for spending time with us on this Sunday afternoon. And we really, really appreciate you.
Absolutely. I'll talk to y'all soon or shortly down the road. If you have any questions, I'll be around.
Thank you so much. And guys, don't forget the week activities for the Wine Culture Fest have been posted. And we hope to see you in July.
Adios,
Thank
guys.
you guys. Good night, everyone.